All right, good night, everybody. Welcome to Comics Asylum Live. We're here with me, Steve, and returning to the asylum, we have Adriano from Pesto Comics. Adriano, how's everything?
Oh, it's going great. Thanks for having me again. Really appreciate it.
Oh no, it's always a pleasure to have you. Next time we'll have Roberto join us.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So how's it been? I hear you got something percolating on the interwebs.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So new campaign. It's the end of From Parts Unknown. So it's the pro wrestling vampire series I've been pushing for just over 6 months now. So it's a really quick campaign as far as indie comics go. The first one came out last October, and it's now June and or July rather, and we're we're ending the whole thing. So 4 issues deep. The last issue is actually a double sized issue, so 44 pages of a big time finale. So very slow build. If you were, if you've been reading the first 3 issues, now's the payoff. So the campaign's doing really well. It's the first couple days is our second best campaign out of the 9 that we've done with Pesto Comics so far. So very good start. Very happy with how it's all going. I really can't complain. So it's been great for sure.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great to hear. Uh, there's always the pins and needles whenever you start a new campaign.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
it's almost like crowdfunding, addiction, um, illicit drug stuff, because you're like, what's going on? How many backers do we have? How well is it doing?
Oh yeah.
And you're looking at it minute by minute, second by second, day by day. You gain a backer, you lose a backer.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's it's
We've
it's always a roller coaster.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's still the early days, so I'm still in like the honeymoon period where you launch and everyone's supporting it and backing it, and it's still very early and all that. Um, but that dead zone's coming; it always does. So well prepared for it, but yeah, I know it's coming. Yeah, but happy with where I'm at so far. It's been going really well.
Ah, perfect. That's good. And we're going to actually dig into that in a little while. So we're going to take a deep dive into your campaign. It's a fantastic campaign, and I can't wait to show our viewers and listeners what we got going on. So for this week, Vaughn and I, who is my partner in crime here with Comics Asylum, outside of Jay, we were in Montreal, and it was a fantastic con at Palais de Congrès, as it usually is. A lot of people. I think they had 64,000 attendees on Saturday.
That's intense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a city of nerddom just
Yeah.
geeking out. It was great. It was boiling hot too. And so some great cosplay, amazing guests. The writers and artists that were on hand were amazing. I know a lot of the vendors did really well. So by all accounts, a successful con all the way around. And for those of you who follow us on either Instagram or on YouTube, we have a boatload of interviews coming up, including ones with Yannick Paquette, and Andy Belanger, and yeah, it's going to be fun. Can't wait to start getting my editing hat on to get those ready for everybody.
Yeah, those must have been fun. I've been to a few panels with Yannick, and the guy's just pure entertainment every time. So I'm looking forward to that interview. That should be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, he's so good. He actually should be in front of the camera. Like
Oh yeah.
it's almost like he had time on stage when he was younger or something. He's a natural guy, man, for that.
Yeah, like pure extrovert. Like I've walked by his table in the artist alley area, and he has people captivated around him as he's doodling or whatever he's doing, and he's just telling stories and has just like he has like a little audience every time I go by. It's yeah, he's saying something fun because yeah, every time I've heard anything from him, the dude's a ton of fun, and his Substack's good too. When he updates it, it's a lot of fun to read. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I know how hard it is to do to run a table during a con. And as an artist, sometimes they're like, not every artist is as extroverted as Yannick is. And then when you have commissions and stuff like that, you tend to, like, some people, like, everyone's different. So some people kind of like within themselves, and then there are others that still do a commission and hold court at the same time. So Yannick's, he's a boss for that.
Yeah, it's impressive. Well, that's part of why Roberto and I started working together, right? Because he's one of those that goes quiet when he's drawing. So he's like, I do my live streams, and it's just the sound of my pen on the screen or whatever. It's like I need someone to fill the time, and it's like, oh well, I don't know when to shut up, so I'm happy to do that for you. So it's been a good pairing, but I totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally understood. Totally understood. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna dive into something that popped into my head the other day. Part of it was some of the reaction to Gunn's Superman, which has been out there for anyone who is, gets an early screening or is a reviewer. And I know it got a little bit political with one of his statements. And then it got me thinking about the characters that we love, right? And what is it about them that we love? Do we love them for who or what they are? So do you love Clark Kent as Superman, or do you like Superman the brand? Are you the brand of Spider-Man, or is it Peter Parker or Miles Morales or Gwen Stacy? That can be, because the Spider-Verse kind of exploded what I think the Superman family and the Bat family was kind of teasing and working in for decades. But and it's generational. So we used to drag these characters along with us, right?
Yeah.
And there's some people that are like, that's not my Superman. My Superman is a Kurt Swan Silver Age kind of thing. And then it might be a Golden Age Superman, or your Batman is not a Frank Miller Batman, right? It's a Chip Zdarsky Batman. But then when you get the challenges that comic book industry is going through, and you look at change of demographics, and you get something like Spider-Verse, you get where it used to be the sidekick version, where it's like Flash and Kid Flash. And now you have Spider-Man and Miles Morales, but they're not necessarily sidekicks. They're like radically different in some ways. So is it the brand that we love, or is it the character? I'm going to throw this to you because I'm going to go to I guess a new twist on Captain America, because that's also what got me thinking about it.
I do think so. It is. I think it's the character. I think, and it's usually locked in whenever you started reading that character, or enjoying that character, right? So I think Flash is probably the best one in terms of like talking about generational characters. Like I grew up in the time of like Wally West was the Flash, right? Barry Allen was not the Flash to me, and then Jeff Johns comes back and says no. Barry Allen's the Flash. Who's this? Wally West is Kid Flash. That makes no sense. But that was almost like a betrayal to me. So yeah, it's not. I think you follow the character, and the reason you follow the character is because whatever hooked you at that time is what hooked you, and now that's your definition of that character, right? I think of that. I think of it with my parents are a great example of talking about like immigration and stuff, like not comics, but just in general. Like they came from Italy. Their vision of Italy is Italy in the 1960s and 1970s. It is not the one that exists today. So they're like, this is what an Italian does. It's like, no, that's what an Italian from the 1960s, 1970s does. So it's the same thing with comics. It's like whenever you came in and whoever was the Superman of the time, like, yeah, it's always Clark Kent, but it's Clark Kent of this era, right? That's the one that's going to stick to you and seem like the Superman, right? Think of like the Snyder era of the movies and everybody's like Henry Cavill is Superman, and a lot of people would disagree because they remember all different iterations. But if you came of age in that time and it was almost a decade of him as Superman, right? That's Superman for you, right? Like, and you can't picture anyone else in it, or will never live up to that, even if people with more perspective and time on it would say, well, he wasn't the best iteration. He was one of them. He was good. I enjoyed it. I loved Man of Steel. Don't get me wrong. But right. But a lot of people would say that wasn't exactly Superman. They kind of got a lot wrong there, right? So it really depends. It depends, I think, on when you come in. But to answer your question directly, I think it's the character. I don't think the brand. I don't think it's just Superman, just Spider-Man that people come in. Maybe that's what gets you in the door, but I think the thing that people cling to is the character in whatever form they found them at, and then that's their defined. You know, that's not Batman. That's not whatever. That's because whenever they came in, that's the one that's theirs, even if it's entirely different from what it is today or what it has been. Right. I always think about that, like the New 52 and stuff like that, where it was like a 5 year span. It's like if people started reading then, they must be the most upset because we, right? We did it and then we forgot it immediately 5 years later, and like and that iteration it doesn't exist, and here we are. So like, how do you feel? You must feel the most abandoned, right? So, anyways, but yes, the character is my answer.
Right. Okay. So I totally get where you're coming from, right? Because I'm a little older than you, I love Wally West, but I was introduced to him as Kid Flash, right?
There you go.
And that's where the kind of like the DC Marvel thing kind of gets in the way, where DC was amazing with sidekicks, and that was kind of their shtick, right? And so Kid Flash was part of the Flash brand. So if you liked speedsters, then you were in with Impulse and Jay Garrick and all that Speed Force nonsense that we all love. But if you're a Barry Allen fan, then you're, a classic best friend of Green Lantern and Hal Jordan. And then when you run into Crisis on Infinite Earths, your Flash is gone. Right? And then if you're a Teen Titans fan growing up in the 80s, your Kid Flash is gone because he's now headlining it. But then which Flash is the best? Or which one is the Flash? Because when they're both on the scene, who do you like? Who is it? Like I think Batman and Robin, because there's been a ton of Robins, right? Yes. But I think Batman / Dick Grayson have kind of done it the best, where Batman has remained Batman, and there've been other people that have taken on the cape, including Dick Grayson himself. But Robin 1 slips out of that role, right? Because man, I've lost count how many there are. Speaking of brands, right? And became Nightwing, and it's arguable that he's better as Nightwing than he ever was as Robin. Like you can argue that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would say that. I would say so as well. He's more developed as a character. He's not just a sidekick. He's his own character with his own. And now, if anything, he's built the character of Batman much stronger by being like the antithesis to him. Right? He's the hopeful one of the two.
Yes.
So it's an interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting approach. But yes, definitely much better as Nightwing.
Right.
But it's the generation of it, right? That they all coexist. Where, as you mentioned, the Flash was more of a replacement. It's like,
yes,
right? Now you've been upgraded and forget about the other one. And it just kept like a sliding scale. I think Green Lantern did the same thing for a while before Jeff Johns kind of said, no, they all exist together, right?
Right. And when you think about it, this has got to be like the craziest sector in space, because how many Green Lanterns just for this sector? It's
yeah, right. And you think they would reassign them? Like if this is a true like war, it'd be like, okay, Hal's back, so you can go. Like we don't need you now, right?
It's true.
Yeah, but we're just we want to have our cake and eat it too. Even now with the Flash, right? Like they're all there. Right? They're all the Flash somehow.
Yeah, and like two different Wally Wests, depending on what Earth you're on or continuity you're in and stuff like that. Yeah. Because the TV shows obviously have to play some part of the role for whatever you're getting, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because it's interesting, because I love Barry and I love Wally, but it's interesting because it's amazing how you can take the same character, and I think they did Wally dirty in a few stories. We were talking about characters that were done dirty.
Tom King, yeah,
right, exactly. So I think that was like Heroes in Crisis or something like that.
That's right, yeah.
And we were talking about heroes or characters that were done dirty last week. Okay, and I didn't even get we got so into it we didn't even get to Wally.
Oh my
right?
goodness.
And when you get to the Heroes in Crisis stuff, you're like, what the F? Like,
Yeah.
really? And you
Yeah.
almost have to retcon yourself out of it to try and
You've broken the
save the
toys too
character.
much. Yeah.
So did you read that when you were collecting? Where did you read that in real time?
Yeah. So like, don't quiz me on it. It's been a while, but yes.
No. This is not a test. I just want to know how did you feel? How did you feel when your guy got absolutely done dirty?
Yeah. At the time, it didn't bother me as much as it did in retrospect because I feel like there was a lot of that going on.
Mm,
Um, Especially like his Identity Crisis was what 2-3 years prior to that, I think, or
something
yeah,
like
my
that. Yeah.
timeline might be off, but like that was kind of the vibe where it's like break the toys. So I wasn't surprised that they were doing that. Like that was just the way it was, where it's like, oh, we're doing something different. We're making everything extra dark and horrible, and it's all gonna go down now. And that so at the time I wasn't as offended as I became over time, where I'm like, man, they really just like they didn't have a plan for it, and that's why I think at the time too I wasn't so upset about it because it's like, oh well, a story's a story. We'll see where this goes. Maybe it'll be really cool. And then when you see that, it's like, no, that was the whole story. We we're not gonna fix
Right.
it.
Right.
That's when but that realization took a while because yeah, there's the Morrison Batman and the Batman R.I.P. and all. They were doing all kinds of wild stuff at the time, so it felt like another one. But
Mhm.
yeah, what was upsetting was just like they didn't think beyond it. It was just like, okay, cool, we told the story. Now everything's broken. Uh, who's next?
Yeah, there's a graveyard of done dirty characters
Oh yeah, yeah,
around like for the longest time when deconstructing characters was kind of like the order of the day, right? And I
yeah,
think of like, oh, Jesus, Spider-Man broke my heart several times from the
yeah,
90s in, right? Whether it's Deals with the Devil or Gwen Stacy supposedly sleeping with Norman Osborn, it's like
yeah,
so many WTF moments. Um,
yeah.
that
It
it's
was very
crazy.
WWE, like shock value. Like it wasn't
Oh
like
yeah,
let's
absolutely.
do it and then we'll figure it out later. And that was the figure it out later was the thing that stung more than the doing it, right? Like
Mhm.
do it, but like, well then what? Right?
Yeah, for sure, right? And I also think too, because I'm thinking about it in terms of like the character and the brand versus the brand. I think of all the character deaths, right? Like
Mhm.
Wolverine, like after the death of Superman, which basically took like Jean Grey's death and everyone that was dying in the 80s, which was like absolute shock value. Then it became how to jumpstart your book.
Yeah.
And then you bring in, and this is where I'm talking about with the brand, where it's like you have Steel, right? And everybody else that's part of the brand, or even replacement characters like Thor after the Walt Simonson run, this Thunderstrike, and Thor apparently has died again after Immortal Thor, and he's now mortal,
Mhm.
right? And you've had the Jane Foster Thors, and so is it just kind of like it's almost like a new edition of a Ferrari, right? You go from your 308s, right, and then you have your SF90s, and through the years you just go from model to model to model with hints of what is a callback to the past, but
Mhm.
also then leading into the future. And I think Spider-Man fans for sure have been arguing for years, can you just let him grow up? And they
Yep.
did that with the new run, with the new Ultimate books. But the 616 one has remained stuck in Charlie Brown time loop forever,
It's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, it's oh man, I almost lost my point now. If you already go with it, it'll come back.
Right. But like you think about it, like Wonder Woman always had Donna Troy as a sidekick, and now there's Nubia, right?
Mhm.
Green Lantern, as you've mentioned, tons of Green Lanterns. So there's some people like get Hal Jordan out of here, right? And I
Mhm.
have a good buddy of mine, Kyle Rayner,
Mhm.
is his Green Lantern, and there's some people that love John Stewart
Yep.
and all that kind of stuff. but it's not like when a character goes, that's it for them. It's who's going to take up the mantle. I think Superman might be, ironically, the most difficult one
Yeah,
to
that didn't
replace
stop them from trying multiple times, right?
multiple times. But
Yeah.
he's got one of those kind of like unique sort of origins slash mythoses that it's hard to plug and play, because like you've got, even Batman has his dad Thomas Wayne
Hmm.
kind of be a Batman in another universe, and you've got Robin, like Dick Grayson has been under the cowl, and heck, if you are old school enough to remember World's Finest, Clark Kent was under the cowl at times too, right?
Hmm.
So it's kind of interesting how once then you get to Spider-Verse and they're actively pushing the anybody can be Spider-Man,
Hmm.
that you're then almost pushing Peter Parker to the side, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think the Spider Verse one is an interesting one because I feel like it has very much the same vibes of like, okay, like that's a wonderful tenet that like if you have the right virtues or whatever, you can be Spider Man, right? But you're right that it makes Peter Parker less special. Like even it makes Miles less special too, right? And that's what's upsetting, that you do it once and it works out great, right? I think the whole, even the way Miles came to be and all that was a great, through the Ultimate line, uh, made a lot of sense and it was built properly. And then they just kind of like threw that in. It's like, well, you got any kind of Spider-Man. So you're right. Then the brand, I feel like again you're casting the character aside in the way of the brand, but it diminishes both. So yeah, I don't love that. Um, and to my original point that came back to me, so it works when they really do plan why they're doing all of this. Like I feel like a good example of that was the Daredevil run by Chip Zdarsky recently. That spoilers if you haven't read it. When Elektra becomes, don't look at any of the covers. When Elektra becomes Daredevil, it's a very temporary thing. Like it wasn't meant to be like, okay, like now you're all stuck with this. Like it was to serve a purpose for the story. It was like Matt Murdock's redemption for the horrible mistake he makes at the beginning of Chip's whole run, right? And the whole run is really about that, about him trying to overcome that horrible mistake he thought he'd never make, and he did, right? It was really masterfully done. So yeah, you can have that. You can have the mantle passing. You can have the brand change and all that stuff. But if it's done with thought and it's done for a purpose other than just like, hey, we can make different toys out of this, or God knows what, sell variant covers, then it's worthwhile. But yeah, I feel like a lot of the times it's, it'd be cool. It'd be cool if so and so was Batman this time. Like, okay, but then what? Well, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Right? What if the Riddler was Batman? Like, okay, how do we get out of that? We'll figure something out, right?
Yes.
Even Death of Superman, I feel like uh, had more planning. They didn't know how they were going to get there, but they knew he was coming back. Like they're like 100% he's coming. Like he's not dead. We know this. Like in the room, they knew it. They didn't even think it was going to be nearly as big as it ended up being, right? So they just had a plan. They're like, how do we sell 4 books at the same time? Because Superman was coming out every week at the time. So they're like, we need stories to fill all 4 of these books. And they wanted to do the wedding, and they were told they couldn't because apparently the TV show is doing it, Lois and Clark, right? So they're like, no, we can't let you get in the way of that because that's the big thing for the TV show. So like, okay, what if we kill him instead? And it, right, but then they thought that through, and it worked really well. That's what got me in the comics, right? But it was that it's the have a plan, and maybe for all I know they always do, and it just doesn't feel like it, right? Like they might have a plan every single time, but a lot of times it does feel like they think as far as the beginning. Let's kill him. Let's change. Let's new Batman. Okay, but then what? Like, why are you telling this story? Is there a reason for it? Is there a purpose behind it other than let's see this person wearing the mantle, or is it like you're trying to show something? I think when Dick Grayson was Batman was a great example, right? It shows the difference. It's like Batman that we know, Bruce Wayne, is that kind of Batman because he's Bruce Wayne, not because he's Batman, right? So it really had a purpose, and again, they had a plan to get out of it, so it made sense. But yeah, sometimes it just feels like they do it to do it. So I don't know. I don't know.
So true. We got a comment from Solon. Yeah, let's just move on to the new mantle. We have his son John, or just admit that Superman is too overpowered and a mistake. He needs to be done and plunge the Earth into real danger. That's an interesting point. Like, I get the reasons why you have the sons come in or any kind of supporting character, because you need your hero to play off of that stuff. And now Clark gets to be a little bit like John Kent, his dad, right? And you can see, again, it's one of those things where Superman is more Clark than he is Kal-El because of his upbringing. Bruce is more, Bruce than Dick will ever be, even though they both lost their parents. Because of not just how they lost their parents, but also what makes them to their core, right? And it's interesting because it's like, when I was looking at some of the Miles Morales stories, I was like, okay, he's great. Now that if they're going to keep Spider-Man around and Miles is going to be that character, you have so much you can do differently with him, right? And I never thought that they went as original as they could, because of just cursory, you look at it and you're like, oh, they're just rehashing Spidey's greatest hits, but letting Miles now sing the cover tune, right? It's like replacing the lead singer, but you're keeping the same songs, right? Just rearranging them a little bit. And actually, Solon, who just gave that that comment, I'm going to add him to the stage. Solon, how are you? If you unmute your mic, that'd be great. Hang on one second. Did he leave?
He threw something in the comments. It flipped too quick for me to read it. But
yeah. But yeah, so it's very interesting because, like, it's almost as though it's almost as though once you get into that part where you have the new character come in, you almost, because of the brand, you don't want to push it. Like, I thought Elektra becoming Daredevil was great.
Yeah.
It opens up the door to tell more stories, right?
And that's what it should be, right? Like, it should be. I think the John Kent example is a great one, because it's like, it's the two different upbringings, two different point of view. Like you said, like Clark Kent, he's Kal-El. Like, he's not from here. He's an immigrant of the planet. He's an alien, right? But also he's like he's a farm kid. He didn't grow up in the city. John Kent grew up. Yes, he grew up on a farm, but he's a city kid. So they had him joining all the protests and he's a much more like worldly Superman than the original Superman ever was. So you got that very different viewpoint. I think that's how you handle it well. But when like you said, they're just playing the greatest hits, and it's like, well, now here's this version of so and so, then yeah, it doesn't work, right? Like, it has to be like, I think John was against Luther's daughter or something. I can't remember exactly, but it was like, okay, well, why are you doing the exact same thing? Like, give us something new. I think they're doing the same thing with the Absolute stuff, right? Like, it's just a rehash. Like, just do something totally different. Just throw it off completely off the wall, different. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Solon.
Solon, welcome to the asylum. You had a comment. It's good to see you, Solon. This is Adriano. You had a great comment in our private chat, and I want you to bring it up.
Well, like, I guess my whole thing is, like, as you guys are like lifelong comic lovers and whatnot, does it ever just like I read like a lot of manga and like comics and things like that, and like I love my characters, but like when a story ends, like I enjoy that as well, And so, like, rehashing the same characters again and again and again and again, and like there's nothing like, I like parallel universes. I like seeing a different take on characters, but at some point, does it not feel like, hey, let's just like end this guy and move forward in the universe? Maybe to the point of, maybe there's no more Green Lantern Corps. Maybe there's no more Superman. Maybe Spider-Man is like a thing of the past. At some point, do you guys not feel like that it's like too much?
Adriano, I'm going to let you take that one.
Yeah, let me. I feel like so that the thing about comics is it's a forever middle story, right? There is no ending. There's no ending coming ever, and I'm okay with that. But the truth of it is there is an ending, and it kind of goes in line with everything we've been saying. There's an ending to your version of the character at some point. It's not as clear cut all the time. I mean, DC's a little better at it because they'll usually, like we mentioned before, they'll have a crisis. And that's truly like that is the end of that version of the character. The one that's coming may look the same and sound the same, but they're not the same. Yours is gone. So DC's a little better at like drawing the line, but
About
at the
that.
end of the day, it's like your version of
Sorry
the
about that. My
character.
thing cut out.
Oh, that's okay.
It's all good. Yeah, we were actually before we started, we were talking about how spotty the internet has been
It
in
happens.
Southern
Yeah.
Ontario. It's been crazy.
So,
But yeah,
sorry
so-
to call back to what you were saying. Sorry, go. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I was just saying it's really it doesn't feel like it's the same story over and over again, only because the characters has changed. Like if you go even to read Superman from now to like 20 years ago, which you know it doesn't feel that long ago, but it's been a while. That character is a little different than the Superman of today. Like there is a marked difference. And then if you go even further back, like the character changes over and over and over. So
Mhm.
you're getting it through a different lens, although it's the same character over and over. It's different lens every time. It's almost like James Bond in the movies. It's a different James Bond every few years, right? Like we'll keep watching James Bond forever because I'm getting a different point of view. Like it's a different take on the same character. So I think that's what keeps it interesting.
Mhm.
But yeah, if it was one big story, I'd want an ending. Yeah, I think that's one thing about manga that's really cool. Like there's a definite ending sometimes, and then sometimes Chainsaw
Yeah.
Man restarts. So
Yeah.
And it's
I'm
interesting.
just. I mean, in the sense that. Oh, sorry, Steve.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's just like in the sense that like okay, so we have these different viewpoints and different like versions of the character, which is great, and like I really love them. Um, but like even now, if we're gonna take on like the latest, like what's the ones that's the recent one, Absolute,
Yep.
Absolute
Yeah.
Batman, Absolute Superman, all those. It just feels like we're just being edgy for the sake of edginess, and like it's like I like Absolute Batman and like I like Absolute Superman. I don't really enjoy Absolute Wonder Woman, but maybe that's more to do with the art style itself that throws me off. Um, I just feel like we're just kind of beating on the characters and getting them darker and grittier and like because that's what like the fans of like now want. But I'm like, okay, like we've had like a good run, like the Trinity's been around for a minute, and now like let somebody else be the Trinity. I don't know who that'll be, like in terms of like superhero characters, but I just like I'm not like trying to like hate on any of the comic characters. I just feel like somebody else like I don't know any other word other than mantle to take like to use. It's
Yeah,
just like somebody else should take on the mantle of these types of roles, you know?
Yeah, I think didn't Dan DiDio want to do that before he was let loose, right? He wanted to do that. It was 5G, so it was exactly what you're talking about. You would have the new generation of all the characters, and then you could still tell stories of the original ones, but that would be a different thing, right? Like they would have
Mhm.
their special books that you'd have Superman in that, but that'd be a different book. But like Action Comics would be the new Superman, and Wonder Woman would be the new Wonder Woman, all that, and we just move on to like the next set of characters and all that, and you can still tell your own stories elsewhere, but like the main
Yeah,
line is moving on. So that's what he
yeah,
wanted to do, and then something happened, and he wasn't there anymore, and instead we got that what is it, Infinite Frontier, which was like halfway
Yeah.
here, halfway there.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, let's see what that would have been like. Okay, never mind, back to normal.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this out there because I don't think we can think of this independently of this factor. Is it the fact that they don't want to lose their copyright
Oh, 100%.
if characters are out of publication too long, and that's why Peter Parker will forever be stuck at 30. Like I think like he Dick Grayson's probably the one that's probably grown the most without going through some sort of like, oh, you were tossed into a timeline where time accelerated your because I think John Kent went through that. One of Superman's kids went through that.
Yeah.
Because he's come back now and he's a lot older than Damian is, right?
Mm-hmm.
From Super Sons. But I know, and we'll get to this when I go to the Captain America, the new Captain America. it's a lot of these characters, especially the ones done in the 40s, they're going to be public domain soon. So a lot of these reboots and a lot of these rehashings are to kind of make sure or to protect the character from like their updated version of it from not entering public domain.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment because, like, even you see it now. It's happening with Steamboat Willie and all that, and they're very well. Disney's always had that reputation of being very particular about you can use this very specific Mickey in this very specific way. So I could see them doing exactly that. They know that's coming with Superman relatively soon, right? Right, and it's going to be the Joe Shuster, Jerry Siegel Superman, which is not the one we know today, right? No kryptonite, no flying, right? Like, so it'll be interesting though to see other takes, and I think you're right. Like, they're defining Superman in their way, so that when that day comes, it's like, yeah, that's Superman, but it's like you might as well do Doc Savage because it's like a totally different character, right? Like, it's its own thing. So yeah, I think you're definitely onto something there.
But I'll throw this your way, Solon, because like, and this is for other reasons, right? But like, you have something like Dragon Ball, what's going on forever, right?
Yeah.
They're sliding into, Spider-Man, Superman, Batman territory where like the story's just going. And then you've got things like Robotech, where because the way that the show was chopped up for the North American market, you can't really tell that story in its entirety, and you keep going back to Macross, right? Because like the Dana Sterling section or the third section with Scott on the bikes, no one really goes back to that. It's always the Rick Hunter segment of the story. So anime and manga have it as well too, where depending on the creator or the thirst for the story, sometimes commerce gets in the way and you keep getting these things over and over and over again.
Yeah, but like that doesn't change that's a terrible like reason to continue a story. Like that's no different than One Piece running like 1,000 and something episodes now, and like people love it, but the story needs to end, man. Like one of my favorite current animes right now is Demon Slayer, and like the animation I think is fun. Like the storyline is like interesting enough, but like I like that there's no a lot of the episodes, there's not like a lot of filler episodes. There's not a lot of fluff. You're just like you're banging through the story each season. Like they're like you get here and you're looking for X person. It's not like, oh, you have these side quests or whatever. They're like, no, within like an episode and a half, you run into it and like it's on. Like the show is progressing, the storyline is progressing, and now we're in the final section of that show, which is now what I think season 5 or 6 or whatever. Each season is like 15 episodes or whatever, and it's fun. Like I like knowing that like each episode is going to grow, everything is going to move, and like am I sad that I know that this is going to be the last season? Absolutely, because like I enjoy the show, but like I'd rather leave while I still enjoy it than continue to watch. Like if you use Supernatural, the TV show, as an example, that show had an ending in season 5, Swan Song. It was like a nice ending. I felt it was good. It wasn't happy for everybody because people like it didn't end in a way where like you felt good, but it was supposed to end. And then season 6 came, and then they undid everything that they had done in season 5. And then we were season 18, 19 into the show, and I was like, what's happening? Why are we still here? It's too much. And like I understand commerce and like money and all that stuff, and like fans love it and they'll die on that cross to like keep watching the show about why it's good. But like I don't know, as a creator, I feel like you should have won at some point to end on a high note.
Yeah, I feel like it's different mediums, right? I agree 100% with like the television point of view. Like things should end when it's still good. And it's hard, and it always sucks when it does. Like you always want more, but if they stick to it, like it's inevitable that it's just not going to be the show you remember, right? And part of that though is because it's them almost like they've told the story they want to tell, and now they're out of stories, and now they're just keeping it going to keep it going. I feel like with comics it's a little different because it's so many different writers, so many different artists, so many different people coming in and saying, I've been watching this for years. Let me tell my version of this story, right? And as long as they're not rehashing the same stuff, like usually you can get some good stuff in there. But there's also just a lot of stuff you have to get through to find the good stuff. That's the truth of all of it too. We don't know what's good until we've seen it. So you got to kind of get through all of the okay and the so stuff to get to the really good stuff, right? And that's just how it tends to work. But yeah, it's pretty. It's for comics. It's just that it's the viewpoints that you get that are constantly changing, constantly different. Where TV, really, it's someone's singular vision or a group's singular vision of a story, and then they tell their story, and then they keep it going, and they keep it going, and they keep it going, right? And then you get The Simpsons, and it's 20-something a year. That is completely unrecognizable from what it originally was, right?
Unpopular opinion: Simpsons should have ended a long time ago, but that's just me.
Is that unpopular? I feel like that's very popular.
Right? Like I haven't watched it in like seasons now. Like it's just on TV, and I don't even. Yeah.
And unlike comics, like comics, you can find someone who's enjoying something that, like, they'll enjoy a story from 4 years ago, from 3 years ago, and say, "Oh, that was one of my favorites." Like that still happens. I haven't heard that from anyone, and there's been no one that watches The Simpsons that goes, "I really enjoyed last season more than any other season they've ever put out." I've never heard anyone say that about that show. Everyone likes the first 10 seasons, let's say. I don't even think that's the right cutoff, but that's where all the quotes come from. That's all the memories. It's all from those seasons, and then there's a clear drop off where that stops happening. Where I feel like comics, people still find stories they like that are recent because of that, because it's constantly different people, different takes, different ways of telling the story. So I don't think you have to necessarily retire the character, but you have to keep doing this, like, little refresh, like subtle refreshes. You don't have to like you said, the absolute stuff is like a full rehash for the sake of, like, what if it was dark? And I'm enjoying that stuff. Like, it's not just to just to crap on it, but yeah, like it's just a take for a take's sake, right? But like if you're dealing with the main line, it's the little tweaks and the little changes to character and just the way they talk and the way they react to the world the way it is today and all that kind of stuff. That's what keeps it all alive and interesting. But you don't.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree, and I'm not saying like you have to like completely like kill them off or anything like that. But like say like Batman Beyond, like having Terry take over the mantle and move on like way beyond like Bruce still even being able to get in the suit anymore. Like I like that idea because like Bruce needs to age out. he's just been doing it for so like, and don't get me wrong, there's certain runs I really like. What was the run where it's focusing a bit on like Nightwing and like Alfred died and Bruce is I forget, he's under like a neurotoxin or whatever, and he's like hallucinating Alfred, and it's like a really touching moment between him and Alfred, and I'm like, this is really good. It really like hit all like the key notes for me, and I was happy, and I was like I really enjoyed it. But then we have Absolute Batman, and I'm like, this guy is wielding like a scythe, not a scythe, a giant like axe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and he just cut off a man's arm, and like I'm fine with it, like I am, like, but like this is like a wildly different take on what's going on. And then what was it? The first Absolute Wonder Woman, and she lost her arm, and then like I was so I don't know about like.
But you know what?
It just feels like a lot sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. But you need those different takes because you don't know what you're gonna like until you've seen it, right? I think that's part of it. So it might not be for you, but so it's at least they're taking the swing. It's better than kind of be like we were talking about with the Miles stuff, where it's like, okay, now Miles is gonna fight his Scorpion. Like, okay, like come on, can't he have his own something completely different? Like, does it have to be his own version of this character? So I guess there's two sides to it, right? Like everybody wants new, but they also want familiar at the same time, and trying to find that balance is difficult. So
no, I get it. Like we really love those homages, and we we really love those callbacks and stuff. And like, yeah, I do. Like I really enjoy the new take on Miles Morales for like even the movies. Like I really enjoy like him against the Spot. Like I like how that last movie ended, and I've been waiting for the recent release, like the third movie, but here I am still in limbo forever.
You're gonna keep waiting. You're gonna be waiting for a bit, just to let you know.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
It's really sad. I felt like the movie, like I liked the artwork, I liked where the story was going, I liked everything that was going on, and then they were like, goodbye. So
Yeah.
it was a lot.
Yeah,
But
I don't like that hard of a cliffhanger, you know?
Mm.
no,
like,
no.
like you can tease the next one, but don't end the story halfway through. That's not cool.
No, yeah. It was very much a to be continued situation.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me throw this out there then. Does Kirkman do it right then? Because both Invincible and Walking Dead, they come to an end.
I think that's an indie comic thing, right? Like I think there's almost an expectation that it'll end because the people like it similar. It's almost closer to television. I feel like, right? Like the team that started it is the team that's there, and when they're done, then the series is done. Where again, Superman, it's when you're done, someone's right behind you, and there's 170,000 people waiting to do the same thing, right? Like there are more than enough people willing to tell some stories right behind you. Where I'm sure they would do that with The Walking Dead and Invincible, and what else do they do? Like Oblivion Song and all that stuff, and right? Like I'm sure someone would be happy to tell their version of those stories, but they were very clear and they had a mandate to end it, and they did it. And yeah, I think that I respect that. But it's their vision and they want to see it through to the end. We don't have that with the superheroes because everybody, Joe Shuster and and Jerry Siegel sold Superman. They lost that right to end that story a long time ago. So here we are. So we're still using them. That copyright should be up soon. But yeah, it's that idea of like the original creators. I think if anyone is the one that should get that say that there is an end to the story because it's their story that they told and they had an ending in mind or didn't, but came up with one. I think they reserve that right. But when it becomes the characters that we all share at this point, right? These ones that have been around forever, I think, yeah, like there's not there can't be a definite end. They're lore at this point, right? Like it's not a story with certain characters. The character is the story at this point, right? Like they're their own thing.
Yes.
So
Yeah. It's interesting because like in a way, Kirkman is almost like a showrunner for his comic, right? And because of that, you have that singular vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the bonds are a curious case because you've got the same family of producers up until now with Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guiding that franchise off of a set of novels that essentially, up until maybe some of the second Craig, were based all off of Ian Fleming's books in some way, either through just a bit of a nuance here or the title or whatever, but they were still going through the source material, even though they've been, a plethora of James Bond novels and comics in the interim or since then. But it's like thinking about separating character from brand. I think you could say that the character of James Bond, kind of like all the other characters that are long-standing characters that we've been touching on, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, the list is endless. They change for the times, right? And so when you get these radical societal shifts, paradigm shifts, the characters sometimes reflect it, or they were born in that certain time, and then they change over time because society changes. And you see it with the Bonds, like how he's written, how the actors they have at their disposal and who they choose. But it was almost like when they got to Craig and they actively rebooted it, it's not the character anymore. It's the brand. And then you're starting to look for, does he ever say shaken, not stirred? Does he does he become a womanizer again? Like all those signature things that you're looking for in, going to any restaurant or you play any game or whatever. If you're, I don't know, a Kansas City Chiefs fan, there's certain things that you expect from your team to play a certain way, the stadium experience, all that kind of stuff. And I wonder if the characters that have been around for so long, the character and the brand are almost indistinguishable until there's a hard reboot. and you want to take it in another direction.
Yeah,
But
it's
is this? Oh, sorry.
no. You go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, is this just an expectation based upon like your mental version of the character now? Because like each time like there's like a reboot of the character, like who's to say that generation doesn't say, now this is my James Bond, this is how he acts and like views it, you know? Like it's no different. The other day I watched Jurassic World Rebirth, and at the end of it, my wife was like, there was no raptor scene, and like there was a scene that was kind of close to like the raptor scene, and like you know, but like it wasn't raptors just coming
Yeah,
through the way that they did, and like the spooky like in the kitchen or whatever opening the door, and just, like there are a lot of like callbacks to certain like moments in the movie, so like we enjoyed those. But like she at the end of it, she was like, I wish they had waited longer so it could be like an like each generation got their own Jurassic Park version, so I didn't have to view that and be so disappointed in that. And I was like, that's wild, but okay, dude.
yeah, no, I think it's kind of it falls in line with what we've been saying, right? Like it's whenever you came in to whatever franchise, whatever character, like that's your version, right?
Mhm.
Even if it's not the one that came out, like it's whatever one hooked you. Maybe you go back and you watch the original Jurassic Park, and that's even if you're 15 and you watch it today, and that's the one that made you love Jurassic Park, that's your version of Jurassic Park in your head, and everything now has to
Mhm.
live up to that standard, right? But somebody who came in with this latest one is going to have a very different expectation of what Jurassic Park is, or any of these characters or franchises we're talking about. But that's kind of what I was saying too about that's the joy of having different people coming in with different takes constantly, and that's what keeps it fresh. So you can keep these characters going forever because there's always going to be a different version out there. There's always going to be something new to see, even though we're seeing the same thing over and over, like arguably, right? There's still going to be a different way of seeing it, which that's kind of the joy of it. At least I think so. I don't know.
And with
Yeah, I
that,
can see.
let's jump to the new version of Captain America that's out there, because like we've got the Sam Wilson Cap, we had Bucky Barnes be Cap after he was shot on the steps in the Steve Epting run, and obviously we have Steve Rogers, and so we've got a new interpretation of the character. I think Zdarsky calls it. Chip Zdarsky is the writer. And he says that this new Captain America is one that's lost to time. And he was introduced because they're recontextualizing everything. Where Steve, I guess, when you think about it, it would have been 20 years after World War II, when Cap would have shown up in the 60s again, right? In the Marvel Universe. And we've kind of run with that. But now they're kind of changing the timeline, kind of like they did with Punisher, where Punisher fought in Afghanistan, not Vietnam. Because for modern audiences, and then you're stuck to an age where the character would be like, 80 at this point, right? They're kind of doing that for Rogers as well too, where there's a Captain America that would have been taking up the mantle in around the time of the Afghanistan war, and it also brings to mind like how many times Captain America has either been taken over by somebody in terms of like the mantle, or how many times he says, I'm out, I'm going to become nomad and become something else. Right. So it's interesting that this character, out of probably most of them, has had the most, I guess, shifts when it comes to the character history. So let me just see if I can increase this a little bit here.
Well, isn't Captain America's whole thing like closer to what the Spider-Verse is doing right now? So, like basically anybody can take on the mantle if they're like, I guess in his world, like pure of heart, of like whatever you want to call it in terms of like being close to like Steve Rogers' character, right? So like
I think he's always been a symbol, and a symbol based on what the country needs for war, for some sort of war purpose, and so they get someone to be as close to the original, the OG Steve as possible. But then out of that, you get U.S. Agent and all that kind of stuff too, right? So you have all these derivatives of that character, which is kind of, when you think about it, it's just these are all like soft reboots in a way,
Yeah.
Character for the time. But it says here, Captain America 2 preview introduces David Colton, the 21st century Captain America. So it says this week, Captain America #1 by acclaimed writer Chip Zdarsky and superstar artist Valerio Schiti finally hit stands. In this first arc, the creative duo revisit and recontextualize the moment in time when Steve Rogers emerged from the ice after World War II. It's exploration of the formative period before Steve joined the Avengers, following his journey as he learns to become a Captain America fit for the modern day. The first issue introduced readers to David Colton, the government-sanctioned agent leading the charge as Captain America in the 21st century. Readers will learn more about this mysterious new figure as the series progresses, starting with next month's Captain America #2. The upcoming issue will see Steve and David work together on a mission that leads them into the clutches of Doctor Doom. Who needs the Red Skull when you're trying to get Doctor Doom mad prepped for the upcoming Avengers movies, right? So alongside the preview for Captain America 2, Zdarsky sat down with Marvel.com to dive deeper into the series. All right, so let's take a look at it. The art's beautiful.
Yeah, Chip's been very lucky with the artists they keep pairing him up with, man. Like,
oh yeah,
he's getting top tier artists every book.
Yeah, it's a lovely kind of it's a treat to be able to have someone take your words and represent it like this.
Oh yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think this leans like right into what we're saying about like branding and all that, right? Like, of course, the U.S. government's gonna be like, well, we own Captain America. Right? Like Steve Rogers was Captain America, but like he was a Captain. Like we own that brand, so it just it makes this is exactly how it would play out, right?
Right.
Like in a world where that is an option, 100% that's what they're doing with it. So I like the take already. I haven't read the issue yet, but I'm in.
Yeah, I'll pick them up because I think it's an interesting take, especially in the world we live in, where like social presence, social media, branding, all of that is so integral to like it used to be just the war effort, but now it's everything. Like you can't buy a car, or even with all the celebrity spokespeople, you can't get a burger or whatever without some sort of celebrity endorsement or brand affiliation to give you that extra nudge. Yeah. So it's interesting. So just to hear, and then we'll hit your book, Adriano. But it says Captain America #1 reestablishes when Steve Rogers emerged from the ice. How did you settle on this time period for the book? So Zdarsky says, one of my favorite parts of the Captain America legend is him being a man out of time, which becomes more so as the years go on. So that made it feel like a ripe period to tell a story. Like back in Avengers in #4 in 1963, when he first woke up in the modern world, it had been 18 years since he went into the ice. Now, because of how time works in the Marvel Universe, that's more like 70 years. That makes it almost a sci-fi story for Steve Rogers, which is fascinating. But ultimately, I wanted to tell a story of him getting the lay of the land of America and his place in the world, which is much different than when he went to sleep. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm sold. I'm into it. It's a different take. It's all we've been saying, right? It's a totally different view of the same character. The only thing you worry about is, does this break it for everything else? Like, it does bring up some confusing timeline issues, but that's a Marvel thing specifically, because they refuse to restart. But, like, now he came out at 9/11, but he was there at 9/11, right? So, how does that work? Like, I don't understand. Yeah, right? The answer is always it's comics. Shut up. But like,
yes,
but right. But like, it's I don't know. I find the thing with Marvel is they really want to have it both ways. They want to be like, this takes place in the real world, but also everyone is 30 forever, right? Like, it's an interesting way of doing it. So it was inevitable that we had to do this. Like you said, Punisher the same, right? Otherwise he'd be 75. But yeah, it causes some very interesting dilemmas because they made a point of like certain things in the world happening at the time and now again, and now they don't work together. But maybe they have a plan for that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, which is interesting because does that mean that when the Spider-Man 9/11 issue, when he's there with Captain America cleaning up New York City?
Who
Anyway,
was that? Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Right? Who was that? Was that a time traveler? Like, I'm so confused. But
yeah,
anyways,
yeah, and there and like Doctor Doom was there even to
yeah,
commemorate the whole tragedy. So
right?
yeah, I could see Solon like what?
No, I'm just trying to like, cause like now I'm wondering when did like I've never been clear on when Fantastic Four existed in the universe, and so like how far back, like it's just like the Fantastic
Right?
Four timeline, like it's just like it throws me off. So to know that he's working with Doctor Doom, but then like when I don't know, it's fine, it's fine, whatever.
Yeah, the,
I'll
the,
just
the
accept.
timeline thing is just like it was always muddled. And this just like adds a whole new confusion to it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
comic.
yeah, yeah. Because FF being the first family, essentially kicking off the Marvel universe.
Mhm.
And then you throw in things like Sentry being there from the beginning. You know, like no one can resist a good retcon, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so
I
those
definitely
things,
can.
but those are the things that
Right,
kind of
fine.
make it like it makes you wonder, like, because and not to go too far off track, but like, how are they going to explain Reed Richards and Doom when they do the MCU version of FF? That's going to be really interesting because that's like having Captain America without Red Skull. And is Red Skull going to be around in with this new Captain America? Because he's going to be 70 years old too. And then how does that change Bucky, who's running around as Winter Soldier? So all good.
Yeah. It just creates all kinds of chaos. Which again, if they have a plan for it, I'm here for it. But if it's just
Oh, totally.
I make this one change and everything else will fall into place, that's where things get a little bit more dicey. But hopefully there's a plan for all of it. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. But in Chip we trust, so it's going
Yeah.
to be good.
Yeah, he's been pretty good so far. So, I won't doubt him yet, but
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of comics, Adriano, you've got a Kickstarter running, and we're gonna dig into that right now.
let's do it.
All right. So tell us about from Parts Unknown.
From parts unknown, I see you're looking at the US dollar, so it looks lower than it is. No, but it's doing pretty well.
It's doing 30% better if you think
He's like,
about
I
it.
promise, he's doing better.
At the conversion, it's doing a lot better than it looks. That said, yeah, so this is the end of my pro wrestling vampire comic series. So we've been doing this since October of last year. We released the first issue. So as far as indie comics go, this is a pretty fast rollout. This last issue we did it actually as a double issue. I was gonna do 5 originally. So if you backed it way back in October, it was one of 5. Now it's one of 4 because the end is a double-sized finale, so 44 pages of
There we
just
go.
nonstop blood and gore and pro wrestling body slams and all that kind of fun. It was very much a slow build to this point. The first 3 issues were really, laying the character down and letting you know who's who and what everybody stands for. And the third issue ends on a really big cliffhanger, and this is the payoff for all of it. So this is where it gets really fun. Yeah, Daniel Caval is the artist on it. JP Jordan, the colorist. Between the two of them, they made something really different. It's something that I have it laid out as shows, and folks will walk by and do like a double take, and really like get into just the colors, the way they pop off the page. Maybe not that one because it's nighttime, but the rest of them, it's just a really,
There you go.
it's a very stylistic book in the sense like it's not your traditional comic style. It's a little more cartoony, a little more wild, but that just lets us have a lot more fun with the action and all that stuff that's going on. So yeah, it's going really well. It's running throughout July, so the last day is on August 1st. As far as like pricing and stuff goes, I am going like as cheap as I can possibly do it without losing my shirt entirely. I'm really trying to get this book out there. So, and especially when it comes to bundles and that, like if you have never heard of this until today, I make it very easy for you to catch up, both digitally speaking and getting things delivered to your door. I actually just picked up the Gemini mailers fresh from the United States, which I paid all kinds of tariffs. Apparently, there's
Nice.
tariffs on cardboard, which is very upsetting. But but I paid the damn tariffs, so the comics will make it to your door in like beautiful condition because those Gemini mailers are worth every penny, even though
Oh
it's
my
a little
God,
bit of a
yeah.
pain to get them up here. Yeah,
They're amazing. The Gemini mailers. Anyone who's out there who is thinking of doing any kind of indie comics and then a Kickstarter and then getting it to your backers, those Gemini mailers. And no, Adriano and I are not employed or getting any kickbacks from Gemini, but they're
if you want to
fantastic.
give me a discount, I'm down for it though. But yeah,
Yeah, I love this cover. This is great.
It's a really
yeah, it's
popping
one of my
cover,
favorites. Right, and then again, it's like the art was cool, but then the color just brings it out to a whole nother level. It really pops. So very happy with how that turned out. And yeah, so this time we actually have 5 different covers. So Daniel was bored, decided to do a second cover in black and white and a little bit of red. So
Nice.
that's the same interior artist. He's like, I want to do a different take on these characters. So we got an extra cover out of it. And then I've also worked with a couple new artists. This is This Mighty Daimo. I always get the name wrong. But it's done in the Mexican paste poster style. Those ones you would see as you're walking down the street, and there's dozens of them.
Yes.
She did it very cool in this this style. So very happy with how that turned out. It's
This is
all
great.
very different takes. Yeah. So also worked with a long time collaborator, somebody I'm doing something with very soon is Riccardo Facchini. So he's done covers for me on number 3. He actually did, and way early on Unlimited Udo, he also did on my first book. He did a cover for me, so he has done another one here that looks great. And then we have again for the manga folks. I'm trying to fool them into coming to the table. I got this one by
There you go. That's how you do it.
Yeah, right. And I
Appeal
told him,
to
I go, "Look,
everybody.
yeah." And I told him, just give me, like, I want it to look like it's ripped right out of the pages. Like, I want the gray tones, like that style. Just
Yeah,
do
this
it
is
full
banging.
on.
This is
Yeah. And he's like,
banging.
oh, do you want me to try and mimic do it in your, like, anime manga style? That's what I want. I want to see these characters like that. And I think you really knocked it out of the park. So, yeah. So, again, bundles for everything. So, including if you like all those covers, they all come in a bundle as well. So, I make it nice and easy. I also do the conversions for you because I really want you to be able to know exactly what you're paying. Because I know, again, the Canadian, you add the 30%, and it looks like it's a lot more expensive than it is. But most of my backers come from the United States, and yeah, they're getting a discount on everything just based on the fact of their dollar being much stronger, and that continues the further away you get. EU pays a little less, and UK pays the least in terms of just absolute value. But yeah, that's the conversion on the prices. But that said, the prices, I try to keep them as fair as humanly possible. So it's this plus shipping. Shipping has become a bit of a nightmare with the tariffs and all that stuff. I used to include it all, so we're back to doing it separate. But I really try to keep it as fair and, affordable as possible. So you can get all my work for 35 Canadian dollars. If you haven't ever heard of me and you're just seeing me right now and you're curious, like that tier right there, the Pesto digital pack, it's literally everything I've done, and it's $35. That's how many comics are we at now? Quite a few. They're all in there. I'll send them all digitally, and we have physical versions of all these too. So I will send you a giant box if that's what you're into. So yeah, I try to keep everyone happy as much as possible, and really try to make it easy to jump in if you've never, seen me. So yeah.
Well, all these rates look super affordable.
I try. I really try. I appreciate that.
And the thing about it too, though, is that like Solon, like the crazy part about it is that when you're an indie creator and because you don't have distribution, essentially your Kickstarter's distribution or you are your own distribution, shipping, because you don't have any bulk rates or whatever, depending on where your backers are in the world, the shipping can cost as much, if not more, than the actual product. It's absolutely
Yeah.
ridiculous. And the thing that got me was like shipping in Canada was more expensive than shipping to the States. I'm still trying to figure that one out, but
Yep. I always found it crazy that I can ship, like, I'm in Etobicoke, and for me to ship to Scarborough was more expensive than shipping to Los Angeles from here.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I could drive it myself, but that would be more expensive for someone to do it in a Pure Later truck than it would for someone to fly it to Los Angeles and drive it to someone's door. That is somehow less expensive. I don't
Yeah.
get it. The world we live in.
right.
No profit margins for us. That's what they want.
Yeah, right. That seems to be what it is. They really do like to squeeze us where they can. But anyways, I do my best to try to make it up with the prices of the books. I'm lucky that I found a good printer, a good local printer who gives me some pretty good prices. So I just pass those savings on because, again, right now the goal isn't to strike it rich; it's to get the books in as many hands as humanly possible. So I
Yeah.
try to keep the barrier as low as possible. And yeah, and then the more you get, the bigger the discount you're getting. So you can get literally everything I've ever made, right? For yes, that's a large ticket number, like 215 for everything, but we're talking about 26 comics plus digital versions of each. Like it's everything. Like the box will be big, and I'm gonna throw
Yeah.
a bunch of extra stuff in there. So we've had a couple backers that have gone to this tier, and like yeah, I have all the stretch goals from previous campaigns and stuff. That's all going in the box too, as like a thank you for catching up at this tier. I want you to feel like you've always been here. So yeah, that's the goal with these tiers for sure.
Oh, that's great. Like, no, like this some fantastic values in this campaign. I backed Naked Kaiju Woman, an absolutely banger of a book.
Appreciate that.
A throwback to like those monster movies of the 50s, Attack of the 50 Foot Woman, and obviously the kaiju monster movies that are out of Japan. And it's a great read. It's a lot of fun. So
I really
Adriano, support Adriano and his campaign. There's about 3 weeks left.
Oh yeah. We're still early on. We just hit the first week of the campaign today, and we got 3 and a couple days left. So,
but it's also a project that you love, right? Did you get the badge?
they got the badge, yeah, right in the bottom corner there. Project we love. I just hit that yesterday, which is good because in the past I used to have to not pester them directly, but on Twitter and stuff, you tag them over and over and really hope that they see it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And you're constantly like, but this time I wasn't doing that so much, and they still found it, which is I feel like that's good news. That means people are liking it and finding it on their own. So
104 backers in the first week is a great number.
Yes, very happy.
And there's a lot of time to get momentum. Like I know a lot of these campaigns, they start strong, really robust, and they kind of like they slow down a little bit before there's a push. So the fact that you've got such great momentum to start is fantastic. And, anyone who's watching, anyone who's going to be watching this or listening to this, wherever you're listening to your podcast, head on over to Kickstarter. I'll be putting the link in the description for the episode once this goes onto our YouTube page, and you'll be able to catch it there. But in the meantime, if you have a spare moment while you're listening, head on over. This is a great looking campaign. It's got vampires. It's got wrestling. Two of the most, amazing concepts that you can think of that are going on right now, and you get it all in one package.
And it's got really popping color, guys. Like I don't often get to see as like a manga reader, like I don't really get to purview the world of color. And so like this is just like a banger for me. It's just like bam.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. And I love the fact that the blood is not just red, it's like fuchsia kind of. It's nice.
Yeah, right. Like JP's got some wild. So the thing too is like, so the colorist on this is the same colorist on Naked Kaiju Woman, and you wouldn't know that if I didn't tell you. Like,
no, I didn't see it.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
Right, it's a totally different take on it. Like he went totally wild with this book, and it really like made it something else. Right, like it's the collaboration on this. I think is what really made this book work the way it did. Like if it was just a straight story, like just a wrestling vampire dark horror whatever, it may not have been the same. Like there's some fun to be had here, and that's what I really like about how it all turned out. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, and let's spotlight the creative team. So there's Adriano, writer and letterer.
That's right.
Right. Daniel Cavall is the interior artist and cover artist. JP Jordan, interior and cover colorist. And then Riccardo Facchini.
That's right. Yeah.
Variant cover artist. And this mighty Demo. Very cool. Variant cover artist. So that's the one, Juliet GMM Lopez. All right, great. Is a Mexican artist working as freelance. All right, cool. And then Henry Saints, variant cover artist. So how many variants do you have in total on this one?
So on this book is 5, and then all the previous ones were 3. So all together, we're at 14 different covers for the entire series, but 5 for this one. Yeah, I went. Originally, the plan was just 2. I was working with Ricardo on something else, and he pitched a cover. I'm like, sure, why not? I could always use an extra cover from Ricardo, and then Daniel threw me this cover. So we went to 5. The plan was 3, and the artists wanted to really give this series a farewell, so they did with their extra covers, which was really cool. But yeah, I always like to use the covers to test out new artists and that. Like everyone I've worked with before, like every artist that I work on a series with, I've had a cover done by them at some point. So it's a great way to like really find out if we gel and like if it's gonna play well. And yeah, so it's a great way to test out new artists in that, and it served me really well because a lot of these relationships have blossomed in new series. A bunch of stuff I'll be announcing in the future too. I got a number of things in the works. So yeah, highly recommend working with as many artists as you can, because you never know what's going to pop up.
Well, I did want to say though, but like, because I do have to hop off right now, but I do think that for like, I'm a numbers guy. And so like my wife loves going to like chapters and all these things. And like, I spend way too much money on books in my life. And so like, if you're a person listening to this, if you look at the prices Adriano is offering for a whole bundle of books, you're making a killer saving than if you were going to like these big box offices, and like your one book off a chapter's bookshelf is like on average $25. Okay. And the amount of savings you get for all of the work that it looks like has been put into this, I do suggest very strongly you check out his work. And it looks like it looks like it's going to be a good story. And I'm going to personally, when Steve sets up the link, I'm going to go and support the page myself.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. I appreciate that.
No worries, guys. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna hop off now. Nice meeting you, Adriano.
Stolen. It was great having you hop on. Loved to see you again. Also loved your input, which was all characters must die at some point.
Yeah, basically.
There was some fresh blood, which was great.
I didn't always feel this way, okay? Just at some point I realized that I was just like, you know what? If I have to say goodbye to characters, everybody does, okay?
Right.
I get
it. All right, have a good night, guys.
All right, brother. You take care of yourself. Stay safe. Thanks. We'll chat.
Bye.
Bye. That was great. Yeah, no, the campaign looks fantastic. And so let me ask you, because it's one of those things where you're like, when you do your first campaign, you're like, what the hell's going on here? And then you slowly get it under your feet, right? Like, oh, I kind of understand how this goes. You get the lay of the land, and every campaign's different. But what have you learned, or how have things changed since you did your first campaign to this present one?
So this one was interesting because after the last one, so the third issue of From Parts Unknown, this year I've been like, this is my 4th campaign of 2025. Like I've been on top of it, like just campaign. And part of the problem there, so with Naked Kaiju Woman, amazing campaign. Like that was on autopilot. Kickstarter like really took an interest on it and put it on the front page for a while. So that like people were just finding it. They were going to Kickstarter.com and there it was. So I didn't have to do anything. Like it was just happening for me, and that was a wonderful feeling. And you get kind of spoiled in a way, and you think that's what it's going to be like now. I made it. But that's not how it works at all. So second issue from Parts Unknown comes out, does well. I lost a handful of readers, and I thought, okay, this is just how it goes. It's a slow step down. And then I launched number 3, and if I'm being entirely honest, I was coasting. I launched that campaign. I was still working on fulfilling from Parts Unknown 2 and Naked Kaiju Woman at the same time. Like, I was surrounded by boxes of comics and boxes to ship out and all that. Like, I was completely swamped. I was shipping out, it was well over 600 comics, so 600 packages. So I was surrounded, and I launched that campaign, and I missed a bunch of stuff. Like, I didn't even set up the page right. The rewards were copied from previous ones, so they didn't say the right thing. Like, I really coasted through that from Parts Unknown 3, and I paid the price. It did not do nearly as well. Like, it was my second worst campaign. I'm on number 9 now. That was my second worst campaign. So I had to lick my wounds. I pushed this final issue out and gave it the time it needed, and made sure that I was set up for promo. I've been on a whole bunch of podcasts. I have socials going out every day. I have ads running. I'm doing it properly, and it's nice to see that it does pay off when you do it that way. So it's kind of the thing I've learned more than anything is there's work to be done, and it's done for a reason. Right? Like, you might get lucky once in a while, and Kickstarter blesses you at the front page, and things just start happening for you. But the truth of it is, there's a way to do things for a reason, because it works, and you can't just rest on your laurels because you've had one success unrelated to the thing you're doing too, which is the worst part. It's not like I did a sequel to Naked Kaiju Woman, so I'm getting all the same people. It's a totally different book, totally different genre, different style. The only thing that was the same was me and the colors. Everything else was different. And I was expecting to have the same success for some reason. So it was a I've been very open about it. I have my newsletter and all that, and I spilled my guts about it, of just this was not the campaign I envisioned in my head, but I truly got what I deserved, because I did not give it the time and the effort that these campaigns do need to be seen. You got to cut through the noise, right? There's so much out there, so much amazing work, and when you're half-assing it, it shows. So you really have to put in the time and the effort to show that you care. And even though I did care, I made sure the comic was good, I forgot the other side of it, which is the campaign, which needs just as much love and care. And so I think I've done that this time, and it seems to be working. This is the second best campaign now that I've had so far out of the 9 that I've done. Naked Kaiju Woman is a different thing. I didn't land the front page this time, so there you go. Also, not a naked lady on the cover, so maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, all of the hooks are different.
It's all within reason. I'm not expecting the same level of success, but the fact that just the way this one started, this launch was the second best launch I've had, which is wonderful. And I feel okay, I've put in the work, and now I'm getting I'm getting the fruits of my labor now. Right, because I put the labor in, which was the mistake that I made with the last couple that I did. I was more focused on speed than quality. I think quality over speed is the way that I'll be doing it going forward. But expensive lesson to learn. But here we are.
There's so much. I'm sure we've had this conversation because we tabled beside each other at TCAF. But there's so much that goes into making these things, and sometimes coming up with the idea and executing the book, easiest bloody thing you can do. Promotion, getting out to the audience is the hardest thing that no one really tells you about.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to add Vaughn to the stage. Vaughn, welcome. How are you?
Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing? Evening.
How you doing, sir? Everything's good?
Doing good. Just where am I here? Doing good.
There we
go.
Yeah, you were exiting stage right there for a little bit, but it's all
I
good.
don't know what stage I am on right now.
Yeah.
These cameras. I gotta say, that's probably one of the stupidest things that Apple has done. Is where they put the camera in comparison. It should be the center of the screen, but they have it on the side here, so you don't think to look over there when you're pointing your camera.
Oh my goodness.
Kind of dumb, truth be told.
Yeah. It's let's see it. Yeah, you're better now.
Yeah.
You're better.
How you gentlemen doing tonight?
We're
Very
good.
good, very good.
We're good. We were talking earlier. You just missed Solon, by the way.
Oh, Solon was here? Wow.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So a bit of and for those who aren't familiar, Solon used to write for us and do some of our interviews when we were doing Comics Asylum as a magazine. So it was good to reunite the band a little bit.
I feel like I'm sweaty.
Yeah. It's summer, man. And there has been some amazing humidity, and I guess we finally got some rain, so that's good.
Yeah, today's been a day.
Yeah, but we were talking before you hopped on about we just went over Adriano's his campaign, and it's great.
Okay,
and we'll kick back to it again before we go, but just like some of the perils of printing and getting your campaign in order. And it's not just coming up with the idea; it's all the other stuff.
That's half the battle, as they would say.
Yeah, was that G.I. Joe? Knowing's half the battle.
Yeah.
So writing it is half the battle.
Yeah.
And so, Adriano, from your experience, what's the hardest link in the chain for you as a creator / publisher? Because Pesto is on fire.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's tough. It's for me. I'm very good at siloing it, I guess. For me, like the writing and the creative side of it is one hat, and then the promo and the campaigns and all that stuff is another. So I almost don't see them as the same job, even though they are. And that's the truth of it. Like a lot of writers and stuff don't want to deal with it. Like they want to write and then have someone find their work, and that's not how it works. Like if you want to write something, or you're an artist or anything, like you're in this game at all, like doing the thing is just half of it. It's getting it out there. That's equally, if not more important, unless you're just doing it for yourself for fun. So for me, it's I don't know. They're two. I have challenges in both, and it depends when you talk to me. Like right now, I'm writing something and it's killing me because I can't crack it. Like I have an idea and I write it out and I outline it, and I'm like, this isn't the idea that I thought I had. Like something's missing. So I'm working through that and I'm really fighting it. And then at some point, I know it always comes. I have my like revelation where I'm like, oh, the shower thoughts, or while you're stuck in traffic, and you go, now I know, and then I can run and go fix it. But I'm waiting for that moment. It hasn't come yet. And the campaign for From Parts Unknown is doing very well right now. If you talked to me 2 months ago, the writing was going great. Everything was planned. I was sending pitches out to artists for new series and all that. Like that was going great, but my campaign sucked and it wasn't going well. And again, it was my own doing because I didn't put the effort into it. But I was trying to save it once. Like I hit launch and then I started to panic. Right? Like, I didn't do enough. By then it's too late. So I was trying to like save this thing while it was slipping through my fingers. So then I would have told you that that's the worst part, is the marketing and the trying to get the word out and all that. So it really depends. It depends who you're talking to at what time. There's two different versions of me. And right now the writer in me is very stressed out because my stories aren't. I've had to push a project out because it's just not coming together. Like I really wanted to get it out this year. It looks like that's not going to be a thing for this year. It might be next year. And then another artist that's waiting for a script, and I'm like, it's coming, I swear. I just need to look at it a couple more times, please. Just give me time. But so that right now, writing is hard. But talk to me in a couple months, and I'll tell you that campaigning is hard. So it really depends.
Question for you. I don't think I've ever asked you. Maybe you guys have touched on it when I wasn't here. Adriana, how many projects are you look to aim towards per year? Like, do you have a set goal? Or
I don't. Not a number goal. Like I haven't looked at like I want to get 6 comics out this year or something. Usually what it is I'm planned out to 2027 right now, and then I'm constantly shuffling those.
Okay.
So for me, it's more how many campaigns, because right now my bread and butter is Kickstarter. That's where I'm making all my sales, right? So for me, it's like how many campaigns can I do back to back without doing what I did earlier in the year where I did too many, and then I was swamped. Like I was surrounded by comics, and I couldn't fulfill the things I was launching. Right. So it's finding that balance of how much can I get out at a time, because I have a backlog. Like I have work that's waiting to be released, but I can only do one Kickstarter at a time without losing my head. So as much as possible, as much as possible. But like, yeah. So that's probably, if I'm being totally honest, probably like 6 campaigns a year, which is a lot. 6, maybe 7 if I really fudge the fudge the how long each one runs.
Yeah.
But that's probably if I had to pick a number. But it depends. It depends.
And are you still doing like the 30 days each of them?
And so that's what I've been toying with, right? Like through this campaign, I did 30 days again because prior to this, the previous 2 campaigns, I did 23 days, so just 3 weeks, in and out, 3 weeks plus 2 days, right? Like starts on a Wednesday, ends on a Friday.
Yeah.
And that was just like, I wanted to avoid the dead zone. Like it's the worst feeling. You have those days where nobody's backing, or you get like somebody cancels a pledge. And it hurts, right? And I didn't want to feel that for 3 straight weeks while I wait for the end when it picks up again. So I shortened it. But then I realized all I'm doing is like making the books unavailable. Right? Like it's 3 weeks, and then if you missed it, and so I went back to 30 days because I figured, you know what, I can say, if you're seeing this in July, it's available, right? Like I don't have to like, oh, well, you know, if you miss it, then, you know, the next campaign, you could get it in a bundle. I was having that conversation a lot, especially, you know, joining podcasts and stuff and talking to folks. Be like, well, I'm in between because I ended it too soon. Like, I think just having like a month or something like that and saying like July is when this book is out. Right? Like it's easy to communicate, easy to understand. So I think that's the way I'm going with it. But again, we'll see how it all plays out.
I'll pick your brain, man. For the pre-launch page, when you do like the initial promo, how long do you get that up before you start kind of really turning it on? Do you like look to get a threshold of followers first, or are you looking to just kind of get momentum more so?
Yeah, so I do have like a number in mind each time. Like, you know, if I can hit triple digits, I'm happy, right? Like then at any time after that, I'm happy to launch. Like over 100 followers, you're good. But it depends on the campaign too. Some you know, if I know that in like a series, for instance, I know that there's people that are just going to follow it when they get the hey, just launched email, right? Regardless of the fact of whether or not I have a pre-launch, I'm less worried about the pre-launch numbers. But yeah, it's usually more just like the second I have an image to share, I get the pre-launch up.
Okay,
right?
that was me.
Yeah, like just as soon as humanly possible. And I think once you're a creator in good standing, which means you've launched and fulfilled 4 campaigns, you can have, I think it's up to 6 at any given time. So if you're like me and you have plans and you have some art to use for those plans, you could have multiple pre-launches all at once. So the only reason I haven't done one for the next couple of things I'm considering the title, because if anybody's read Naked Kaiju Woman and looked at the last page, I don't know if that title sells as well. I'm really wrestling it. I think that will be a subtitle. I think that's where
that might have to be a subtitle.
It'll be a subtitle because I think that's immediately sales cut in half. But but that's why I'm holding off on the pre-launch of that. But I'm gonna get that up. Like I'm talking with it the next week or two because like the second I have something that I can show people to say next project ready, like pre-launch goes up, right, and start collecting those emails.
So
follower because you don't see the email.
It's interesting because like you get certain ideas, and this is for anyone who's doing their own indie book and wanting to do a Kickstarter. You get all these rules. Vaughn had mentioned, you know, what's the duration of the campaign, and sometimes it's like you kick it off on a Monday or on a Tuesday when you're going to start your campaign, and then how long do you run your pre-launch page for, or your coming soon page, right? And you're saying try to get 100 followers, but if you don't get 100, or if you're just starting out, is there like a window of like if you go past a month of a coming soon, is that a bad thing, or it doesn't matter? What have you found in your experience?
I find so Kickstarter says like it should be a couple weeks. I don't agree with that. Like I don't think
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, I think that's crazy. Like they want it to be a like an event. like, hey, in a couple weeks for launching. So if you, but like, people don't know, right? Like, people don't click and then they go, oh, I can't wait, and like sit in front of their computer waiting for you to hit launch. Like, they click the button and they move on with their lives, right? So
Yes.
if it's now or if it's in 3 months, it doesn't matter, because you're gonna get the notification when I'm ready. So for me, it's like, I'm not worried about the time. Yeah, and in terms of the followers and that, I think, again, it becomes less and less relevant the more that you launch and the more backers you get in, because yes, you get the pre-launch followers and they'll get a notification, but anybody who's ever backed any of your campaigns also gets a notification.
Yes.
So they don't necessarily have to follow your pre-launch. So I know when I launch now, it's going out to something like 3,000 different backers based on all the campaigns I've done, right? Like, that email is going out to them regardless of whether they hit follow or not. So I'm not so worried about getting, the 100, because there's so many different emails and things between that, and they get the 3,000 number because the backer kit launched. So it's that plus my newsletter. And so I'm like, 3,000 emails. I don't need to have them click the little follow button. Most of them have backed the campaign at some point, and we'll be getting the, hey, somebody you've backed in the past just launched a new campaign, right? So, and I see it in the metrics. Like, that's how people are finding it, even more so than converted followers. So it very important when you start, like, critical. Like, every time I have someone ask me, hey, I'm new to Kickstarter, what should I do? So get the pre-launch page up, like, right now. Like, stop talking to me, go build your page so that you can get it approved and get the pre-launch up and start collecting followers. Like, for you at the beginning, critical, absolutely critical. The more you do and the more you collect and the bigger your newsletter is. Again, if you're using something like Backer Kit Launch, which emails everyone who's ever backed the campaign, plus emails you throw in there. So I throw my newsletter followers in there as well. They all get an email on launch day saying, hey, I launched. You want to go check it out? So yes, less and less important over time as you build that following. But yeah, if it's campaign 1 or 2 or 3, get that pre-launch up as high as humanly possible before you hit launch, because it's make or break, really, right? Like, your first couple days will tell you if you're going to fund or not, right? Even if you don't fund on the first day, like, I think the metric is, like, if you're past half, you have a pretty good chance of funding. If you've gone past half your goal, but anything less than that starts to get dicey, right? It's all based on one day, so you want to make sure that that day is a great day for you, and that you do that by making sure that you have followers on day 1, right?
Yeah, there's just so much to consider
Yes.
when you're doing it, right? And sometimes it can depend on the project as well too, right? So if the subject matter is a certain way, a certain thing, and it might be a slow build, or if you know that you have a whole bunch of podcast interviews lined up, and not all of the interviews are live, so it could be that you got to wait until whoever's interviewed you puts it up.
Yep.
And so, like, I know when we did Atrium, it was great going on all those podcasts, but sometimes they wouldn't come out until the campaign's done. And that's no fault of anybody. It's just when they were able to schedule us, and then just timing, right? Because everybody's busy. So it's all those things that you kind of, like, you have to take into account, and it's all part of the business.
100%. Like, it's having a plan. That's what's important, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's having a plan, that making sure things coalesce the way that you would hope. So yeah, if you're going on podcasts, find out when they're airing, and have, at the very least, have a sense of, like, okay, if I launch in this period, will all these things get me where I'm going? Will at least my pre-launch be up if the campaign isn't ready? But, like, having somewhere to point people is the basic. Like, you have to at least have that. That's where pre-launch comes in huge. But yeah, it's all about planning in general, right? Like, that's what burnt me on the last 2. My plan was to hit launch. It wasn't to do anything else. It was, I'm launching on this day, come hell or high water, and the high water came and I was drowned in it. But so I learned that lesson. Just take my time, make sure the campaign's right, plan, and then hit launch, and then the dividends came. But yeah, if you plan to just do it on a date, like, the biggest thing I would tell my just a few months younger self is, you set the dates, man. Like, if DC and Marvel can push books, if Hush can be delayed by how many weeks now because Jim Lee's not ready, then I can delay my books that, you know, the the hundred and so people that do back it, like they will be okay with it, because if Jim Lee can delay 100,000 copies of Batman, I can certainly delay 100 or so copies of From Parts Unknown by a few weeks, and nobody's gonna, you know, lose their mind over it. So,
well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because you know, a lot of what we do is arbitrary. A lot of our deadlines, because we're not on a production line where
yeah,
we're part of, you know, DC or Image or whatever. When we say we want something done by this time, it's just a date that we've picked. You know, we closed our eyes and threw a dart in
yeah,
a way. And then that adds pressure that sometimes you don't really need.
100%.
And you know, if you look at it like, okay, the summer has a certain beat to it, and people are away and doing stuff with their families and whatnot, then maybe that's not the time to launch something if you're not ready. But if you've been gearing up for it like you have, and you have a backing and a following and your newsletter's kicking and all that kind of stuff, now's the time to launch it, because you've also got 2 more coming later.
Yeah.
So these are all part, as you said, all part of your plan. And if you're not kind of like locked into your plan, and you're not like able to either be light on your feet or unwilling to, you know, deviate from it, you could be screwing yourself.
Yes, there's a balance between planning and like over planning. Like I was the previous with the last 2 campaigns. The date was set, and I was going to follow my plan, because again, I didn't want everything else to cascade behind it. But that was the best thing I could have done, was delaying by a couple of weeks that I did. One, it allowed those podcasts to get out on time, right? And then, well, welcome. See that
welcome, myself in comics. You're always welcome.
There's a recording. You can catch up. You're all good. But
yeah.
But yeah, like, so you lock yourself into a plan, and you worry about like, oh no, if I'm late on this one, then the next one's going to be late, and the next one's going to be late. But all you're doing by delaying is buying yourself time to make sure that you do all of it properly. So now I'm in a position where I have a backlog of stuff ready to be released. I've never been in this position, because I've always been like, that's ready, let's go. That's ready, let's go. And like the second it hits my hands and the art's done, I'm sending it out and I'm chasing it with the lettering. Now I have like lettered completed work just waiting to go to the printer. As soon as I'm like ready to launch, it goes. I haven't been in this position before, and it's a wonderful place to be. So I've learned to be a little more flexible with my plans, because it only means good things if I am, right? So planning is important, but it's how you plan is even more important.
Definitely. And with the way that comic books are, let's just say they're in flux, right?
Comics are dying.
Yeah, right. It's like the longest death ever.
Yeah.
Right. The master in like a old kung fu movie where he dying for like 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
How have you approached getting your work out there, getting Pesto's name out there, to combat what people would consider as a soft market?
Yeah, it's I'm trying everything I can. Like, if somebody has a good idea for how to get your name out there, I'm doing it. I went to Thought Bubble last year. That was something that wasn't on my radar early on, and I'm like, you know what? If there's people in the UK who are interested in Pesto comics, I will find them. And yeah, that was actually, I still think to this day it might have been one of my best conventions I've ever been to.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh yeah. Like, it's all the things I thought TCAF would be was what I experienced at Thought Bubble. Like, if you ever get a chance to go, absolutely. Like, I want to go back. It's very prohibitive. It's on the other side of the world, but highly recommend going. It's TCAF on steroids. It's people there for indie comics. Like, they made the trip out to Harrogate to buy indie comics. And it's like, it's an amazing feeling. It's what I feel like TCAF used to be. I don't know. Last year was more, it felt like it was all OCAD kids, for, you know, anybody who knows what OCAD is. A bunch of art students looking for jobs, more than people who are interested in buying indie comics. Now is a little bit upsetting. So yeah, so Thought Bubble was more of what I thought TCAF would be. But yeah, it's just, I've It's being as extroverted as possible. I know that's not easy for everyone, but I talk to everyone. I'm a very open book. I'm more than happy to help anyone. I think that's very important. Anyone that's ever said they want to do a campaign, they're interested in Kickstarter or anything like that, like email me. I will help you. And I mean it sincerely. Like I've given out my business card to so many people saying exactly that. Like if you need help getting something set up, like please, like let's connect and let's figure it out together.
It's a small community, right? So you kind of have to do
That's
that.
exactly it, right? Like it's a rising tide lifting all boats. So you need to help each other out. Like even meeting you guys, right? Like it was because in Niagara was the first time I met you guys. Just me walking around being like, "How's your day going?"
Right.
it was a very rough weekend, and it was that. It was just like just putting yourself out there and letting people know who you are and what you're up to and all that kind of stuff. It's really helped. And now it's nice to go around and even just being able to go to conventions and know everyone there. That's a wonderful
Yeah,
feeling.
it's a like
right?
you see a lot of the regular faces more and more now, right?
Yeah, exactly, and it builds on itself because then like your guys' names come up in other conversations I'm having. We're like, oh, you're the Comic Asylum guys. Like you should check them out. Like we got their website and all that stuff. Like and it's that we're always like pointing to one another for things, right? And that's I think more important than just like going to readers being like, do you like comics? Please buy my books. It's building yourself up in the community. Because again, we all want each other to exceed. It's like a win for you guys is a win for me, and vice versa. And it's that feeling, and that's what's really getting, I think, the word out about all of us together at the same time. I hope.
No, I think you're completely correct because it's a weird kind of a competition. It's a competition not to beat your opponent or your competitors. It's a competition to have us all do well. And so it's like, what did you guys do to this one? Or what tweaks did you make here or there? How can and everything, and it doesn't even matter if it's like you're a pro who's in the indie scene or if it's your first kick at the can. We have been lucky, and I know you've been in the same boat, where people are willing to give advice.
Yeah.
Right. And help out. And so if it's a matter of this is what I'd like to find out about, whether it's shipping or printing or whatever, people are there. And it's the community that we're trying to build that I think is important.
Yeah, 100%. Like the way I see it, it's like we're at the Olympics. We're all shot putters, I don't know why shot put. That's just the one that came to mind. But like, Team Canada has 3 or 4 people on the shot put team. I'm probably way off. But let's say they have 4 people on the shot put team and 2 of you medal. Nobody's getting mad, right? Like, oh, I got the silver, you got the gold this time. Like we won together. Like we both succeeded, or the 4 of us succeeded because we all made it to the Olympics. We all got our shot. And yes, maybe you won this time and I didn't quite make it, but I know I'll get a crack at it the next time around, and maybe I'll be the one getting gold. Who knows? But it's better if we're all there. We all get the shot, right? That's kind of how I see it. Like it's a competition, but it's a competition where a win for you is a win for me, right? Like we just want to win together. That's the key thing, and I've only seen that in comics so far. Like it's pretty crazy. I mean, the author side of things, I do a lot of work there too, and I've seen it there as well. But I don't know. Comics is like a different, maybe because it's a lot more of a struggle. I feel like authors are making money, where comics less so. So we're a lot more scrappy on this side. I feel like on the comic side. So there's even more of a celebration when things pan out, right? And we celebrate our wins a lot more. Where the writer side, it's almost like anything that isn't a win is a little bit more of a disappointment. Everybody's really helpful in that, but we find the smaller wins on the comic side. I feel like getting a book out is a success. Like that's
big success,
right? Like we see that as the fact that you did it and it's real and it happened is a win. Where on the author side, it's like okay, but like you didn't get a series out and it didn't sell, and you should start a new series. Like they're very business minded. I feel like the comic side is,
it's the tangibility of a lot of the comic stuff, right? The fact that you get your book in your hand,
yes,
from writing to everything, and it comes out, and you're like, okay, this is the finished product, right?
Yeah, exactly. That, and I think that there's a lot more of a like local, like again, I've been all over trying to promote myself and my books and meet people and all that. But even just like being in Toronto, like, and there's so many creators here, like locally, right, that are doing the same thing and trying to figure out how to make it work from here and all that. Like, that's been huge. Like, it's, I don't know, it's different in a way. It's again scrappier. I feel like the comic side is a lot more scrappy than any of the other industries, but like in a very community driven way, which is wonderful.
That kind of takes us to back to something that myself and comics put up. I see so many creatives prefer wanting to go broke as long as their comic gets out. It doesn't feel right to me sometimes, and there is a point to that, definitely. But there's this kind of weird, and I don't advocate anyone going broke. That's not where I'm going. No, but there is this weird kind of drive where it's like comic book creators. There's like I have a story and I must tell it. And that's like our prime directive for any Star Trek people.
No matter what, right?
And so there are tons of stories that haven't been told because the creators haven't found a way to get past the idea stage, or I need an artist. Usually that's the biggest stumbling block.
Yeah.
Right? Which is finding enough money for an artist. But if you can do that, or if you're lucky enough that you can draw it yourself, right? Or figure out a way, make the artist the co-creator, have them be invested in it some way, it can be done. But yeah, there is usually, those little cartoons with like there's the imp or whatever on your shoulder. That's the comic book, you must do it, imp. And then there's the other one going, nah, don't go broke. And the others are like, yeah, go broke. But it's that driving force that is undeniable.
Yeah. It's so honestly, I think if you're being completely honest with yourself, it's the only way it's ever going to happen. Like, you have to have that drive, because it's so easy to quit halfway and like just see like, oh my goodness, like, am I ever going to make this money back? Like, especially if you're a writer like myself and you're hiring artists from all over the place who are uber talented and deserve the higher rates that they may. And again, they're giving me deals. Don't get me wrong, I am paying indie rates, but not cheap, right? Not cheap to get these. I could do a few months of runs at the LCS for what it costs to get a book together, but it's that risk, and that, like, that's fine. I will take on that risk because I want people to see this, right? And I will do what I need to make it succeed once it gets there. And that's the other hat you got to put on, is now that it's made, how do I get it in front of people? But it's that feeling of like, this needs to happen. This needs to happen, and we're gonna do it regardless. And somehow we're gonna make it succeed, right? You should have a plan, but again, who knows? but it's that drive of like, this is going to happen, right? Hell or high water, it's happening.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. J-Man, want to say hey, thanks for coming by and stopping by for a little bit. It's good to see you. I think I'm slated to be on one of his podcasts coming up. We're gonna take a look at the Transformers series. I was on it I think we did a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen last time I was there, but then also looked at a Transformers series that I wasn't familiar with because I had kind of aged out at that point. But it was a great discussion because, getting back to like storytelling and some of the stuff that inspired us. The thing about this, I think it's Transformers V. I'm not quite sure, but it was a Japanese version of the series. And it's like the storytelling that we were inspired by that make us kind of do the stuff, make us want to do the stuff that we're doing now. We forget how good it was, right?
Totally.
Back in the day. And it's like the level of writing in this cartoon, obviously it's a cartoon for kids, but there are a couple of scenes in there which have been played out in movies that have been done recently, say the last 10, 15 years. And they're done better in that cartoon than they are in blockbuster movies. It was actually kind of interesting to see how those things played out.
Don't doubt it.
And then he gets back to the brand or the character to bring it full circle, right? And it's kind of interesting because like the stuff that we're doing, we're trying to build both. We're trying to build brands as well as create engaging characters.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah.
Myself in cartoons says superior cartoons, absolutely. And to this day, you know, like manga and anime have incredible storytelling, and games right now. I think games are probably pushing the envelope of long form storytelling better than
More.
most mediums.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
You get like 30 to 50 hours sometimes out of a good game
Mhm.
with nice continuous story. Like a new one that's from with Norman Reedus, the Death
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That one's that's blowing up right now in the sense that I've watched some cutscenes and it's a small movie in there, right? On top of the gameplay stuff,
And
then
some of the vistas are beautiful. Like
Yeah.
I want to get that game just because of how beautiful some of the vistas are.
Yeah.
Like just amazingly rendered stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting that the AAA breed of games is diminishing as the indie sector seems to be eating them up.
Yeah.
But there's still a place for it because like nobody else is putting that kind of game together, right? Like
No.
maybe they're fewer and further between, but yeah, sometimes they're truly incredible to watch for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All that stuff.
Yeah, myself in comics, I've seen crap anime and manga time to time. For sure. Every medium will have their ups and downs, but the ones that are memorable, yeah, you deleted those from your memory. Yeah, there are a couple for sure we've all done, but the ones that are memorable stick with you forever, and are the ones that then end up getting rebooted over and over or adapted over and over again. So before we go, because we're coming up to 2 hours, I want to go back to the layout for Parts Unknown. From Parts Unknown 1 to 4, The End Is Nigh. Complete series. A double-sized finale from the Parts Unknown saga with a tragic end in number 3, which ended on a serious cliffhanger. Our heroes won't go down without a fight. So if you like wrestling and you like vampires, this is the one for you. So we got 104 backers. It's 22 days to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the chat. So anyone that's in the chat can see it. We're at 104 backers, 22 days to go. So that should put us somewhere around August 1st, I guess, that it ends. Adriano?
That's right. Yep. Friday, August 1st, right at the
There we go.
end of the week.
Okay, great. And I know these numbers are in US, so there's a bit of a 30% markup on them, but you've already met your goal. So you know this project will it will be fulfilled. There's no doubt about that, and it's an exciting conclusion to the saga. And because it was initially supposed to be a 1 to 5, we have a double-sized issue, a 44-page finale. Yes, wrestling vampires.
Correct.
There you go. So, Adriano, is there anything else that you want us to say about the campaign one last time?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I didn't mention, but I mentioned it not directly about this, is that the book is done, right? So aside from the fact that it's funded, something that some Kickstarter campaigns you don't know when you're backing it, like, is it halfway done? Does the coloring need to be done? Does it still need to be lighter? Like, this book is ready to go to the printers today if I knew how much to print. The only reason we're waiting is to see how many people are going to back this campaign, so I know exactly how much to print, plus a little bit to bring to shows and that. So that's what I'm waiting on. Like, the book is ready to go. It's finished. It's 44 pages, colored, lettered, ready. Right. So you back this campaign, you're getting the book, and you're getting it as quick as I can get it to you. It's literally, the campaign ends. We do a little bit of late pledges, and then I send it to the printer. So, like, we're talking within a month or two after the campaign ends, books in your hands, right? And again, this comes back to the let's plan things properly. That's something I didn't necessarily do from Parts Unknown 3. I was a little bit behind. People didn't get it in their hands right away, so I made sure before I launched number 4, everybody could read that book, knew what they were getting into for number 4. And with this book, yeah, it's gonna show up almost nearly after you've backed it. Like we're talking a month or two, it's in your hands. Digitally, even sooner, obviously, because once the survey's filled out, you get the download immediately. So the wait is not long, because that's always something with a Kickstarter campaign, right? You back it, and then you forget about it, and then 4 months later, something shows up at your door. My goal is that this is still fresh in your mind when it shows up in your hands, right? Like I want it to feel like an event, and not just this campaign, but every campaign I do. I really try to make it that everything's still fresh in your mind. Well, like you just backed it, and very shortly after that, it shows up in your hands. So that's what I'm hoping, gets across here, that these books are done. The Kickstarter is a means to distribute. It's not a means to fund and create. Like that part is finished. I'm just trying to get it to you. So yeah.
Excellent. So anyone, if you're watching, if you are listening to us, head on over to Kickstarter, look up From Parts Unknown, and lend your support behind this campaign. Yeah, it's a fantastic campaign. So Adriano, what do you have coming up next? Where can people find you?
Easy to find me. PestoComics.com, @PestoComics on everything. So From Parts Unknown is right now. After that, we have the sequel to Naked Kaiju Woman. That's coming in August. So if wrestling vampires aren't your thing, I'm not offended. I've had a couple very close friends tell me that to my face. That's fine. I get it. I have something for you, though. I have something for you with the sequel coming in August. That's my big one. So I'm excited for that to come in August. So Naked Kaiju Woman 2 is probably what I'm going to call it. But if you read the final page, you know what it's really called. So keeping that under wraps just a little bit longer. But yeah. So lots of fun coming. But PestoComics.com. I'll send you exactly where you need to be.
Amazing. All right. Sounds great. Vaughn, it was great having you come by. So you've recovered from Montreal yet?
Pardon?
Or have you recovered from Montreal yet?
Not fully. I'm just behind on work more so than recovery. You lose one day on a weekday, and it all goes to shit, it seems.
Yeah, the work waits for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that. But Montreal's fun. I got to check on there.
It was a good show.
Right on. Okay, it's on my list.
Get back into it next year for sure. Try to get into it.
Because it was fun. Yeah. Well, everyone who tuned in, thanks for your comments. Thanks for the eyeballs. Make sure you check out Adriano. We'll see you again in 7. And remember, keep it indie.